Alright guys, here's a video of the ShockWave sound unit. I put in my 1400mm BF-109G here. Just one of the sound modules that I'm actually going to try in this. I'm also going to have a RC Mr. sound system in here, the version 4, which I've already had the demo prototype sent to me, and like it very well to leaps and bounds from what it was before here. But we'll give you some demonstrations of what I've done here, and I'll kind of explain a few things here. It's still a work in progress. I'm still tweaking some of the files for David's ShockWave unit here, but I've made several changes and just wanted to throw up a quick demo here and let you guys hear it here. Again, I'm powering this off of a 4S system. I have the volume on here cranked all the way up. It is powering two Visitation FRWS5 2-inch speakers I have mounted. There's one behind the wing in the fuselage and one actually mounted in the forward scoop. And toward the end of the video here, I'll take the camera off the tripod here and kind of do a little walk around and show under the hood and some of the things here. I don't have the screens on the speakers because I may end up pulling them out. I'm playing around with different speakers. They're just temporarily installed and hooked up. But we'll do a quick run up here. I have the plane tethered with a rope around the nose, since I'm going to take it to full power here shortly so you can hear the sound files. But we'll do a walk up here. Got one of my flap servos kind of buzzing a little bit here, but I'm not worried about it because I've got two digitals in there. Anyway, the startup sequence, this is the 109, ME109 as it's known on the file there, even though it's BF-109G. I changed the shutdown sequence because the original stock one was really short and abrupt, and I didn't like it. It was an okay file, but I didn't like it, so I changed it and I edited out the shutdown sequence from the Hawker Sea Fury, which was very close to this, and I liked it had more of a spin down, and then I kind of shortened it up a little bit. And you can do all that editing and stuff like that through the Audacity and the SFX4 software that comes with the system, which makes the possibilities that you can do with it just almost limitless. I'm really impressed. So, but anyway, this is the 109 run-up file. I've shortened down the idle sequence and lengthened it and changed the loop sequence timing on it so that it stays in more of the lower choppy throttle sounds instead of running up into the run-up sounds, and it has the Hawker Sea Fury shutdown sequence blended into the file system. So when you hear that, that's actually not the ME109, that's the Hawker Sea Fury, and then I've made my own file system here and lengthened their timing down on their upper percentage and lower percentages and some of their loop sequences here. So we'll do a quick run-up before I go into the auxiliary sound files, and I've played around with 3 different outputs on my radio here, trying to learn some different things and share that with you all here on what's capable of do based on some information and feedback that I actually got from David Harrison from Model Sounds, which has been very useful. The actual manual that came with it was kind of hard to understand from a layman's point of terms. It's kind of sophisticated, but with a little explanation, once you understand it, it's really easy to follow. First of all, we'll run this idle sequence up in here, and you'll notice that I control my throttle percentages here when I'm finding it. I know about when it's going to start over, so that's when I actually throw it up a little further to tick over the prop. So I'll bring it up till I hear the ignition sound. I'll bring it up a little further till the prop comes over. I need to try that again because my prop kicked over in reverse here because it was so low the polarity went reversed. So try that again here. Okay, now we'll start it off. It only does that on this airplane. I'm still playing with these first 3 or 4 files. I'll bring it down this step now. And we're only talking about 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks max on here, and usually it's in the first 2. Now let it hang right there. About 4 clicks on the phone. because I can just see my prop rotation is about a half second longer when I spin it up and spin it down. From idle down it's a little shorter, but I'll eventually get that file just about right and try and sync those up so that it's a little more easier and I don't have to pay so much attention to the dials. Here's sound 6. That's actually some flap gear doors that I've got on, and I actually have that on the throttle on the flap channel right now, coupled in with the flap channel using throttle 2 input. And when my flaps drop down, it'll actually play that sound. But I can also play all my primary sounds through this one switch. Sound 7. Okay, that is actually sound 7. 8. I found this file on David's P40 sound file, and I liked it. I clipped it out and added it. So a little inspiration on use it for sitting on static display. Factor to the whole situation. Not that it's really practical or going to be used when you're flying, but anyway, it's fun to play around with and so forth. And then I believe I have one more on here, which I believe is the air raid siren. Nope, maybe that was the last one. Yeah, that's it. I got 8 sound files on here. Now then, on the 2-position switch up here on my Futaba radio, I've actually got the offset set to I believe I changed it to 3 because I wanted to play the 3rd sound file. And you can control the organization in the list, and the order that they're in is all controlled in the user settings on the SFX software, which makes it really nice. It takes a little time to set it up in the beginning, but it's all worth the effort. And as soon as I hit this one while I'm flying, so I don't have to sit here and count the number of switches like David was talking about, you can set it so that it's a little lower number and control your number here and put it on all kind of different outputs. I flip this and then turn it back off. If I flick it twice, turn all that back off. I bumped my switch a couple times here. If I'm flying, I can reach up and flick it twice. And I go right to my siren sound if I want my siren sound, which is the 2 I wanted in the order on that list. And then turn it back off real quick. Now then, I'll kind of spin the plane around here and kind of give you the little demo here. Let me zoom in the camera of what it's like with the flaps and the sound I put on the aux channel here. And I'll do a little zoom in here, reposition the camera a little bit. But if you watch the flaps, when I drop the flaps using the flap channel and the sound output on throttle 2, and I only have it set to loop. I don't have any looping set into it, and don't have it on both ways where it does it up and down, so it only do it in one position. And I'll change that later. But as soon as I drop my flaps, I have the simulated hydraulic sounds of them dropping. That will also work real well for your landing gear. Let me bring them all the way back up, which I've also played with. That sound file is actually a sound file of P51 gear doors going, P51 gear going up and down, and I've actually edited it. It doesn't have the 2 clunky sounds at the end of it where the gear doors shut in behind it here. Kind of reposition this a little bit, but that's some of the outputs that I've done on it here. And we'll zoom this back out here. And do a run up one more time here. And I'll throw in some of the aux sounds while it's actually running here. Startup sequence once again. Trying to get my prop to throw in the right direction. It's wanting to spin in counter rotation because of the phasing here. I just have to give it a little jolt to do that, and for some reason it only does it on this one airplane. I may have an ESC issue with that. Like I said, I'll play around with the length on that file a little bit, and it'll actually match the prop spin down, and everything will kind of be synced right into synchronization there. But it takes a little practice and trial and effort here, going back and forth, and actually knowing how the plane behaves in order to get that set just right. Nice little feature here. Now then, let me take the camera off here and do a little quick walk around. What it looks like underneath the hood and everything, because it's real easy and quick to change out. And a little walk around of the BF-109 here, get my zoom all set out here. And this is actually how I have it in the system here. We'll pop the hood, and I'll just set that down here on the wing. But as you'll see here, I have the SFX module. This is a version 7 module, and the outputs are here on the throttle down here. Nice little clean setup. I have it mounted like Dave suggested on a plywood board so that there's spacing down in between that to get nice air cooling. Right now it's just very slightly warm from all that run up from the video and what have you. This plane gets pretty good cooling down through here to blow over this, so I'm not worried about it getting overheating or anything. I do have a gyro on this airplane to help control the rudder, which is a bad tendency for BF-109s, Spitfires and so forth, since they're real waggly on the ground because of the landing gear design. But that's what it looks like under the hood. Now then, if you'll take a peek there, the little 2-inch speakers that I have in there, I have them, they're just simply hot glued in, and then I have a toilet tube with a little cardboard cover on top of it that I saturated in thin CA to harden it up, and that's where I get in a lot of my deep bass sound. Again, these are only little 10 amp, I'll have to look at the specs here, but I believe they're 10 amp 2-inch speakers, and I have 2 of them in the airplane. Well, we can't see the other one. The battery's up in there. I'll turn the plane over here in a minute and let everybody take a peek at the bottom here. Let me set this camera down a little bit here and unplug the plane and get the power off of it, and we're going to let everything kind of cool down, and I can unstrap it from the safety harness here so that I can actually manhandle the airplane here. Okay, radio's off and the airplane's off, and we're back up on the camera again. Okay, real simple setup. This is also where I'll be putting my version 4, because I'm playing around with it as well. Version 4 Mr. RC Sounds card. Let me grab it right here that I've gotten, and it'll be mounted the exact same way. There's the Mr. RC version 4 card right next to the Model Sounds ShockWave unit. They're the exact same size as far as the board goes. Different layout and so forth, and pin orientation. Whereas this one has an SD card, this one actually has a model memory on it, and then a push button to activate it. And there's 6 airplanes stored in here. I've already played around with this and plugged it in. We're waiting for a refurb to come back, because I actually blew the amplifier on this one. It's actually my fault, and we're waiting for a replacement to come in. It'll mount in the same location in the same way here, mounted up against Velcro. I can just simply peel that out, unhook everything, put it back up there, and that's where it stays. And it still leaves me room in here to bring my battery back here to change the CG if I want to. Right now I have it shoved all the way forward up to the nose for a heavy CG, heavy nose heavy to the CG, but I can also bring it back here since the battery strap is right here. So I wanted to keep this place unencumbered. Now then, you put this back on it real quick, and we'll flip it over and I'll kind of show you the speaker installation here. Right there is the Visitation speaker that I have mounted in the nose. And let's kind of spin the prop out of the way here. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it with the zoom in here. But that speaker is also got a toilet tube on it, about 2 inches, I believe is what I cut that to. And just like an echo tube, like it's ported. And then I've got speaker screens that I've actually already made and put on there. I peeled them back off. And then I have another 2-inch speaker mounted right here in the back to try and help kind of offset the weight a little bit, which is very minimal at best. And there's my speaker arrangement for the BF-109 using two 2-inch speakers that will work both with both different sound module setups and so forth. So I'm real pleased with it. Trying to make everything kind of universal so I can swap it in and out and play with different setups and so forth without changing too much, and the planes are already rigged for them. I did the same thing for the blue Mustang that we did the video on earlier, right there, the 1700mm FMS, and the SPAD, the StarMax 1600mm A1. I've got 2 more planes that I'm going to be doing this with, which will be the new version 7, or the new P51B 1400mm from FMS, along with the Stuka that's hanging up right there, which will be actually probably next, followed by the Jap Zero, which is hanging, the fuselage is hanging upside down there, along with a few of the other FMS birds. You'll notice I have them all kind of neatly stored up in the rafters to help keep things organized and cluttered in my little bitty 1-car garage here, where my little workshop, the man cave. The only plane that I don't have sound on right now is my original, very first Ferocious Frankie 1700mm Mustang down there. And she's probably going to be last on the list, as I'm kind of keeping her as it was before. But there's the BF-109, the 1400mm with sound system in it, with 2 Visitation speakers. Now then, these are actually, these holes are originally designed for Andrew's speakers that I'm waiting to come in and put them in there. I believe they may actually produce a little better sound. But I had these 2-inch speakers. I wanted to give them a try, and there's my FMS. Now I did do a repaint on this. I wasn't real pleased with the original stock paint job, even though I've kept the same pattern scheme, which is the Winter Eastern Front Russian scheme camouflage. I just used different actually truer RLM numbers, and repainted it. I actually painted the white, which made a big difference instead of just the white foam. And then went back over the other colors here and blended them, even though I've added 2 different shades of green, which may not be too visible in this video. It's hard for me to tell from the screen. But if I kind of zoom in here just a little bit, you might see where I've got a different, one green here and then a different green here overlapped with it, blended next to it. These are all the stock decals, FMS decals, that are on here. I took the original striping that was right here, as it was really wide, the original decal, and I cut it in half. So it was a little thinner. I think it looked a little more eye-pleasing on the wing instead of the big fat red dot lines on here. So I trimmed that down a little bit, was one of the things that I did here. And of course, from the RC groups, I've already posted pictures on this, but here's a video walk around of what I did with the Aces of Iron pilot inside. My German guy, which turned out extremely well. I was very pleased with him. And how I kind of detailed out the cockpit a little bit. I added some riveting along the window line, panel lines, and the railing there. detailing in the back here, which is some simple plastic from a model shop, and using glue dots for rivets, making the back seat a little better. Just adding some little fine details that really kind of bring the plane to life. And a lot of these are just simple little, what most people would consider trash or junk laying around the house. You can turn it into something and actually add something to your plane without any big expense. Just got to be creative and use your imagination. Here's a walk around the guy again. I don't need to spin around the other side. I added a gun sight using just a simple piece of clear plastic that I found laying on the floor. Is now a gun sight from an airplane. That right there is just some leftover scrap on, I believe that was like 12 gauge wire I had laying around. I just kind of bent it, painted it yellow, which is then used the reference pictures I found from the web. Kind of hard to see the cockpit from in here. Took a tiny bit of a piece of sponge. Let's spin around here. There we go. Tiny bit of a piece of a sponge, which made for the, I guess, the headrest, or the at that time I guess you could call it the modern day airbag, like we have in today's modern cars. But there she is. There's the BF-109. This thing is extremely powerful. I did upgrade my prop to the newest prop style that has the bolt pattern for the blades instead of just the screws. One other point that I'll point out, and this actually applies to all the FMS models, is to severely pay close attention when you first get them and balance your prop. I cannot emphasize how important that is with a lot of the reported incidences we've had later. I actually balance the assembly in 3 different phases, with the prop on just the hub, since they're one piece props you assemble, and then I balance the spinner, and then I put the two together and balance it on my Durabro balancer. And then once I get it balanced, I make a mark, and you'll see a little tick mark right there, so that when I take the spinner on and off, I put it back on the same time. Because if I put it back on in a different rotation, and there's 3 different possibilities, since it's a 3-bladed prop, you could actually balance it and then assemble it 60 degrees off, and it'd be right back out of balance again. So you need to make sure you make some alignment marks when you're doing that. It doesn't matter whether it's a 4-blade, 3-blade, the P51, Corsair, or whatever. The ones with the hub, like the P47 and the Corsair, are a little different. They don't have a spinner on them. But make a mark so you line it back up. And when you put it back together, it's the same balance orientation as it was when it came off your Durabro prop balancer, which works the best I have found. I've tried 3. The Durabro one with the extension on it is the best one for balancing these larger, more scale-like custom props that FMS provides for these airplanes. And this particular one, since it's a lot wider, I'm using the bolt pattern. And we can't see it from here. To balance the prop. That'll prevent props from flying off in the air and exploding and ripping engines out of the cockpit, out of the firewall mounts, and so forth. A lot of that has to do with centrifugal force, and they start to wear down over time. But if your prop is balanced, and that's just a common model airplane, be it electric or gas, rule of thumb that should be followed every single time, whether it works unbalanced or balanced. Balance your prop so that they run smoothly and balanced. Some other little added details that I've done on here outside of the paint is I added an extra cooling vent from underneath the chin right here with some screening over it in the channels here. The speaker, even though it's in the scoop there, blocks off a little bit of the airflow. It does allow it to flow around it, so I did not 100% block it around. But this plane has so much other cooling on it, massive cooling, right in off the turbocharger intake and so forth, that there's good airflow all the way down through this airplane, even with the speaker in the front scoop, which is where I found the best location to mount it. I wanted to mount it a little further forward, but it would interrupt with the firewall, and I did not want to do that with the motor. So once the screens are up on it, and I've tried a couple other speakers, like I said, a pair from the Aero Sounds, they will look really nice. Again, hope you guys have enjoyed it, and there is the ShockWave sound module mod inside the FMS BF-109 Messerschmitt 1400 millimeter FMS bird. Enjoy, guys, and hopefully this plane will be up soon and we'll have some flight video on how she sounds in the air. Enjoy!